I know you're in Bitcoin for the long term, but what do you think of this cycle? And do you think that the 4-year cycle will continue?
Yeah, that's a really deep question, and it's definitely on my mind. It's something I'm thinking about all the time, and not because again I'm trying to time the market or trade the market or any of that stuff. I actually am just very interested in this because, um, yeah, first off, I will tell you right now, we have not seen the top of this market. 109K is not the end of this market, and you have to realize too. A lot of people don't understand this, but in this last run up, remember I already talked to you about the run up from 53 to 58K. From that run up there, we sold well over 1 million coins just from long term holders. Now, these are the people that are supposed to be less inclined to sell their Bitcoin. Short term holders, they're the leaky lettuce hands, the idiots that come in. There are a lot of traders, hot money. But you know what? Some of those people stay around. I was a short term. I mean, that's how I came in the market. And originally, when I got into Bitcoin, yes, I did sell it. I've said in the past I haven't sold it, but that wasn't correct. I realized, looking back, I actually got into it very early, held it for a little bit. Again, it went way up, and I couldn't deal with the volatility and sold it. And short-term holders, though, sometimes like myself, they come back and then they transition. But the bottom line is we've been selling a ton of coins from these people. And Glassnode, for the listeners out there, if you're following me, I strongly suggest that you go to Glassnode right now, type in your email, and subscribe to the weekly on-chain newsletter. It's a great source of information for what's going on chain. And right now I mentioned this the other day on X, 98K is like a key point. All these steps that we're doing, these, 70, 80, 90, these steps, they're terrific. This is just what we want to happen. We are actually shifting constantly. We're setting a new price point. All those short-term holders that come in that are buying these long-term holder coins, they are setting a new price floor for them. And we want this. We want this constant turnover as we go up and up. But right about 98K, now you're above the short-term holder cost, which is around 93. Now, though, you're also approaching to something Glassnode highlighted, which is the majority of long-term holders are at about 350% in profit. And that has been a key level where a lot of coins have changed hands. And if you look at the sell pressure or sell wall, however you want to, designate it, there's a lot of ceiling overhead there, kind of a wall that we've got to get through. So once we get past 98K and above 100 and past this level here, I think we'll be on our way. And just remember, though, all this time is great. And again, I'll go back to what I said at first. If you're concerned about a 20% drawdown, you know, you better get back in the books because this is nothing. This is just an opportunity. And I follow. You're familiar with obviously James Check. I follow Check Mate on X and Check on Chain to his newsletter. I follow him because I like to see where things are in the market, and he's a good signal for me. And just looking at the charts today, I think we're in a great place. I mean, everything is aligned. We are going way much higher on this cycle. Let me tie this in before I stop onto what your last part of the question was, which is the 4-year cycle. That I'm not as confident about anymore. I'd have to say that this stair-stepping, slow build up into Bitcoin is terrific for the long term. Remember, the movement is always up and to the right. That's where we're going. It's going up forever, Laura, up and to the right. But how we get there depends upon your time frame and how zoomed in you are on this, on this cycle. The problem is that this is a great question. If you've got a minute here, let's just go through this for a minute because this is a really big deal. What is the 4-year cycle based on? If it's based on the halving, then we should know, based upon the halving, this last one, and going forward, that is a de minimis amount of Bitcoin that we're talking about in the overall supply of Bitcoin. We've only got 9 years left until basically we're capped. When we get to the 99% moment for Bitcoin, as far as the amount of coins mined, that's pretty much done. you're going to lose as many Bitcoin every year probably as you mine at that point. So, and is the 4-year cycle tied to presidential elections? I don't know. And here's the other thing. How many of these epochs do we have to really use as data points? I would argue that we've only got 3. And you can't base models on 3 data points. And although many of the people that I follow poo-poo the idea of an S curve or that we're going to get to a tipping point where we cross the chasm, which is usually around 14, 16% adoption rate. I don't. I mean, I'm not sure that that doesn't still apply. And what if it does? What if the S curve really does apply to this technology? Are we being adopted on an S curve? If we are, you better stand the by to get your eyes watered, because when you cross that chasm, there's no going back. I mean, it takes off and you can't stay up with it. The only person probably more bullish than me, well, Peter Dunworth is he's more bullish than I am. And the only one comparable to me is probably Samson Mao. Uh, so this is a really deep question. Here's the other thing too, before I stop, is I think that this question I think is going to be answered in this cycle. And so this is why I think this is such an important time. And if you're betting, if you start trading on this thing, thinking where this is going, I would not do that.